Hey guys, it's Jackie from the future. Anyway, there's a few things I wanted to go over before we get to the interview. If you want to skip right to the interview, don't blame you. It's right here. Leina, thank you so much for meeting me. You were wonderful. You were so brave. You were so strong. And I can't wait to come and meet you and get that tattoo. Back to the few things that I want to go over before we get to the interview. I'm not a professional and the video is not perfect. I'm a new creator and I'm still learning. And I'm hoping that by putting out my cringy material will show some other small creators that it's okay to not be perfect. And sometimes you just have to dive headfirst when you have no idea what you're doing. But I'm learning. The other day, I learned how to use my phone as a webcam, which was really cool. So I'm getting there, small steps. The other thing is if you guys would at least like this video, I'd greatly appreciate it. You don't have to subscribe. If you do, that would be awesome, but I won't hold it against you. Also, please comment. Tell me, give me any kind of feedback. I would love creative criticism. I'm totally okay with that. Be nice. I'm watching you. My normal upload schedule will be every Wednesday and Thursday after this video is posted. I believe I'm going to start making Reddit Wednesday videos that I'll either record with just me or me and my husband reacting to Reddit videos. So, really excited for that. Just thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, your girl looks like Casper. So, I swear I know what good lighting looks like. I just don't have it at the moment. I'm working on it, okay? Remember, don't let anyone dim your light, okay? Tell them to have a terrible day, but you have a good one, gorgeous.
So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Now I want to make sure because I'm terrible with names. It's
Mhm.
Leina.
Yeah,
Beautiful, beautiful name. Alrighty. So you are a tattoo artist?
I am.
How long have you been tattooing?
Oh, well over 20 plus years. I'd say at like 25 at this point. So
Oh,
I've
wow.
been going for a long time. I'm
Yeah. Is that what you always wanted to do?
You know what? No, I have been one of those I wanted to be a photographer and I wanted to be an artist and I wanted to make things and like I'm kind of an all-around artist. Like I tattoo, I paint, I make things, I craft, I make wreaths. So yeah, I do everything. I just
I
don't. Yeah.
see. I seen in one of your videos that you know how to crochet. You're making those little pickles.
Yes. I went with one of my girlfriends once and we took a crocheting class because why not? And so so I learned how to crochet just on a whim with my friend and I started it was before my first grandbaby was born and so I like made him his first like blanket and it was
Luke.
just all downhill from there.
Is that Luke?
Yes, that's my grandbaby Luke.
I love the names. I know. I was like, okay, Anakin and Luke.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah. I mean, well, it was really funny because when I got pregnant, I told my son's dad, I was like, you pick the boy name, I'll pick the girl name. And he was like, okay, Anakin. And I'm like, oh, yes, of course. That's exactly what we're naming our son if it's a boy. And we had a boy. So, and then, I didn't force him to, you know what I mean? Like I was just like, hey kiddo, by the way, if you want to keep with like the cool side of our family and just want to, name your kid Luke, he's like, oh no, we were already doing that. And I'm like, oh my God, I love you so much. I'm like, thank you.
that is
So
a wonderful son.
yeah, I know. He's amazing. Like truly, I have the most amazing son. But yeah, the fact that they were just willing to do that, I was like, thank you. Like yeah, and Lukey is just the sweetest, oh, just sweetest little boy. Like I'm like so lucky, and they just had their second one, and I may or may not call her Leia. I'm just saying, but no, she's only 4 months now, but she's also like the light of my life. So yes, I love being a grandma.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So, but yes,
Um,
to your first answer, I am a tattoo artist.
truly, and I've gone through your Instagram, and I love your art. Oh, the what I seen was most of the Halloween stuff that you were willing to
Oh
do,
yeah,
all the
yeah.
ghosts, and the floral artwork is beautiful. I have this image in my head of where I want to be completely like covered in like floral tattoos, like down my
Oh yeah.
arms, my legs. Like this is my
Oh,
one
that's
tattoo.
really pretty. Oh,
It's
nice.
based off of the Addams Family. A
Oh,
day alone, only that would be death. And my husband has the other quote, so it's Morticia and Gomez Adams.
oh, nice. Very
Yeah. Yep.
nice.
Okay, sorry, off topic there. So,
Fine.
in the time that you have been a tattoo artist or even any other job, have you ever had to deal with a bad work environment or a terrible client, something that just completely blew up or anything like
I
that?
have so many stories. I mean, really, it's ridiculous. I mean, Chris and I used to joke all the time. That's my ex, about writing a book, like because of the amount of just horror stories and ridiculous and funny stories that we have from just being artists and body piercers for so long, because I was also a body piercer for 20 plus years. And just people that I mean, I had a girl come in once, and I tried to do like 4 butterflies on the side of her back, and she sobbed the entire, I mean, like body shaking. She left a body print on my table, a snap print, a full face makeup print. Like she just could not pull her shit together, to the point where after I got done with the outline, it looked like a 3-year-old with Tourette's had done it. And I was so frustrated that I was like, you know what? You got to get the fuck off my table. Pardon my French. But she was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I was like, well, I've asked you to put your big girl panties on like 3 times now, and I'm done. So go away, find yourself, get your together, and then when you can, you come back to me. And like 6 to 8 months later, she came back, and it was all these stories about how she was on her period and she had a kidney infection and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, all right, well, as long as you can sit still, I'm gonna finish this. But if you do what you did, goodbye forever. And there are people like that just don't, they don't sit, or they can't sit, or they scream and squirm and yell, and like it's just, or they try.
Deep breaths. I get it.
They try me.
I get it.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, we could have put a book together. I alone could put a book together over the people. I mean, 25 years of stories is definitely there.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, it's like there's some people that you can't make happy no matter what.
Oh God, yeah. It's really,
And yeah,
yeah,
I'm
the
learning that.
stories of the angry people too, or the people. I had a guy once that I tattooed his wedding date on him, and I'm one of those people where, like, if it's words, if it's a date, if it's a name, whatever, I write it down, or if I've typed it out, I make a copy of it, I make you read it, I make you initial it, because if it's wrong, we're wrong together. Like I didn't just,
Yeah.
type it up and, whatever. And I'm a pretty literate person. Like I'm very smart, I graduated at like the top of my class. I'm not an idiot. I don't often misspell things, but I don't know anniversary dates. I don't know
Well,
yours.
you're not a mind reader either.
No.
So
So he gave me this date, and then like 2 days later he comes back and he's like, oh, you fucked up and blah blah, and my wife is angry at me. And I went, let me find your paperwork. And I pulled it out and I went, no.
It sounds like the wife is upset that he got the date wrong.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm like, no, you wrote this down here, and see that initial, that means that you thought you were right and you were wrong. So I don't have to fix anything unless you pay me. So and it was luckily it was like from like a 19 to an 18. So it was a super quick, easy fix. But I was like, I'm going to need $50 to set up my shit to fix this. And it's totally fixable. So just pay me. And because I'm not accepting blame on this, And that's why I have everything gotten, because, it's just one of those things where if you bring it to me and it's wrong and you signed off on it, it's your fault. I try and read things, but every once in a while it just happens. And, somebody will bring me in a sheet of paper and be like, copy this exactly. And I'm like, okay. And then there was like 2 thes in it, like back to back. And I'm like, oh no, like, I'm so sorry, but you handed it to me and said, copy this. And I copied it and I didn't, I'm so sorry. Let's fix it. But yeah, so I've done that. Yeah. And I get people really mad, or, and I'm like, well, I'm so sorry. And I will not sleep over that stuff for months. Like, I'm not kidding. It just kills me inside. And of course, like, I won't let them know, but yeah, I will lose sleep for months over stuff like that.
Yeah, I just put out an episode more recently on my podcast talking about customers that don't think about me, but I still think about them.
Yeah.
Whether good or bad.
So many of those.
I didn't do anything.
I don't know. Something went, it just blanked out on mine, and then I went to a white screen, so I just hopped back in.
Okay, that's fine. It says it's still recording.
Yes, it does.
So
I got. Let's try it.
Let's try it. Let's keep going.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. No. This is not on you. This is on me. As I said, I'm glad it's you. Honestly, because you seem like a great person and very understanding, and I feel like a chaotic mess over here.
Oh no, it's totally fine. This is fun. I'm having a blast. So.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I was like, I don't have tons of equipment and lights and things to make things run perfect. So I appreciate it.
Don't even worry about it.
Okay. I did read somewhere that it said that you owned multiple businesses.
Yes.
Was that just tattoo shops, or can you tell me a little bit about it?
So, we owned a couple of tattoo shops. I owned Sacred Rights Tattoo. We owned Black Sails Tattoo. And then we tried opening up a spa. And that was fun. I did it, with some people that ended up not working out. So, I did it, and I started making a lot of products for it. And I got a really good girl who I still use personally as my massage therapist, and that girl will beat the crap out of you. She's wonderful. I seriously don't think that I would still be a tattoo artist if it wasn't for her, like, elbowing the shit out of me every week. Like, she's amazing. But so I hired like 2 massage therapists, and the massage therapist was the wife of one of my tattoo artists. And so we were supposed to kind of gone into business together, and we had nails going and all this different stuff. And then he decided to sleep with one of my other tattoo artists on his wife, who just had a baby, and it kind of fell apart. So we ended up closing it down.
Makes sense.
Half the employees quit, and then like it was just really, it didn't work out.
I gotcha. Yeah.
And then we kind of lost a whole bunch of employees everywhere, and then chaos ensued. And so, but we did, and then we had a comic shop for a while, which was fantastical. And we were
Like
doing
comedy or comic book?
comic book.
Okay. Sorry, I'm
Like,
starting to become a comedian, so that's where my head
oh,
went to.
oh, that's awesome. No, we did comic book and like D&D and like gaming and stuff like that. And it was wonderful. And we started a podcast, and we were like reading comments or comic books, and then like talking about them. And then we got into like interviewing writers and artists, and we were going to like the Comic Cons and Mega Cons and like interviewing people, and that it got so fun. And then it kind of
What
fell
was the
apart.
name of that? That sound that
Poppin'
that's
Comics. It was
okay.
called Poppin' Comics, and so the name of the podcast was also called Poppin' Comics, and it was about pop culture and comics. So we would watch movies and talk about them. We would watch, we would do talks on games, talks on, our games that we were playing. We would read new comics as they came out and give our reviews on them. I had a blast doing it. I truly wish that we had kept up with it, but it just didn't work out. Certain people would get bored and then just stop wanting to do it, and so everybody had to stop doing it. But yeah,
Fun
no,
for other people.
yes. So it was just one of those things, and we kept the comic shop for a while. We had it in this great location, and then the people that owned it and were renting to us just quit speaking to us. Like, we were renting it, and it was in this like kind of warehouse, and it had the worst parking ever, but still it was a great location, and plenty of room for everybody to set up tables for game nights and shit like that. And then they just were kind of like, we're not renewing your lease when we're not going to speak to you. And so we just had to go find ourselves like another warehouse, and we didn't the location just wasn't as great, and it really hurt our like traffic flow and
Yeah.
business, which just happens sometimes. So and then we ended up giving it to one of our friends to run for us, and that didn't work out well. So it just kind of changed and faltered and just kind of fell apart. And I was pretty heartbroken, but I also got cancer, and so like I couldn't be in it and around it as much because I was just so sick that like I couldn't.
Now, I want to ask and confirm, you're in remission?
Yep. So I was stage 3B colon cancer, and it sucked really bad. But I did all of the chemo and radiation and everything that they made me do. And so as of right now, I'm 2 years cancer free. So
Congratulations. That makes me so happy.
yeah.
Yes.
So I am happy because that really sucked. And to be honest, I don't want to have to do it again.
No, we're not even going to talk about that.
Yep. Nope. I'm done with it. I'd like to, and it still sucks because I have a whole bunch of like leftover trash from it. So, because, cancer doesn't just, leave you, the way it found you.
I'm sure it completely changes your mind, your body.
A little less. So, but yeah. So, yep. But yes, I am cancer free, and they had told me that mine had a high recurrence rate, but so far so good. Knock on wood. That I will just continue to stay cancer free. So, yay.
Absolutely, and yes, you will.
Yes.
I'm manifesting that. What are some things that you do for your mental health? Maybe if you're struggling a little bit, what are some things that you do to take care of yourself?
So, for me, I really enjoy my art, And so like I will art. I just art whatever I feel like I'm in the mood for. If it's little doodles, if it's poetry, I really get into my writing, and I love poetry. I love just like spamming random words to get them out. I had a really hard time when I was going through my divorce with the things that would be said to me, and like just the harshness, and like so I would just get them out and like write them down and like give it to the paper so that it was out of me. You know what I mean? Like that word is
100%. Yes.
yeah. So I'd be like, get it out, and I would just write them all over paper and just like, you know what I mean? So I had just these paper sheets filled with like words just written everywhere and upside down and backwards and in circles, and like just to get it off of me. And like, and I wrote poetry about, some of the nasty things that I was hearing, that I heard were being said about me. And like I would just get it out in really just I love poetry. I love to write it. I love to, scream it. I love to, run around dancing naked around fires on the beach at 2 o'clock in the morning, yelling it. And so I did a lot of that. And I do a lot of painting where, I just feel it, coming through me. And sometimes I just craft. I focus myself into something and I put it together. And, and there's just the days where you can't do anything. And so there's days where I fucking put on my big sushi hoodie that my cousins got me one weekend when I ran away to their house in Savannah. And I just nothing, because the world is too overwhelming. And you know what? Those days are okay too. And you just survive. And so some days all I can do is survive, and I put on my big sushi hoodie and I fucking crawl up into it and I just survive. So, you know what I mean? Whatever you have to do to get through a day, you just do, because it's okay. Because, nobody tells us the right way to do anything. Keep talking. Oh, there she is. And she's back.
Recording. It's still recording. I'm here.
I was like, oh, she's gone.
I'm so
Maybe
sorry.
Maybe I should just keep talking.
No, that was wonderful. That was a perfect answer. But did you have anything else to add?
Oh no, that's it.
Okay, it got most of it. It did.
Yeah.
It was,
Good.
I was like, if this crashes, my heart is going to break so bad that
No.
we'll just have to reschedule. Because I told my husband, I was like, I wish I could drive to you to interview you in person. And one of your videos, you were like, let's just meet and have a milkshake. And I was going to duet it and be like, let's do that.
Did it work? Am I back?
You're back. You're back. And we're still recording.
It's weird. It just goes reload. And so I did.
I don't know why. I mean, my connection's good.
Yeah. And I mean, we literally have like the best internet in the world. So
it's okay. It's probably on me. It's totally fine.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. So let's keep doing it while we can.
Yes. I think that's all the questions that I really had for that related. So if you're okay, I'm going to go ahead and start asking more personal questions.
Sure.
How long were you and Chris together, and what was he like as a partner when you originally got together?
So Chris and I were together for about 18 years. And when I got together with him, he was a player. So, in fact, the way that he met me was that I remember, because he, had said like, oh, I met you this time and you said this and that. And I was like, wow, what a bitch, because she's beautiful. And I was like, don't even remember that. Like, you were so insignificant. I don't even remember that. But then one night I was getting tattooed in the shop that he worked at, and by my old mentor. And he walked up to me and I was like, hey, I need to leave you my number. I need to order some jewelry, because he was the body piercer at the time. And I walked, or he was walking out, and he was just like, hey, I don't remember what he said. He was like, yeah, leave me that number. I'd love to go out sometime. And I was like,
Okay, so he hit on you.
yeah. But it was like one of those like hit on and walked away. And I'm like, who the fuck, who the fuck does that shit? Like, you know what? No. So like I was just sitting there, and I finished getting tattooed, and I was like, regardless, I was like, I need jewelry. So I left my name and number and was like, and I wrote down what I wanted because, I was a body piercer. So I knew what I wanted. And then, he texted me like the very next day and was like, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And of course, my response was, who the fuck is this? Because I didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
Like, this is Chris from the store. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I need that jewelry. Thanks. Because I'm not really good at compliments.
You were like, just give me the jewelry.
Yeah, like I was just like, I don't really care. Like I'm not up for your pimping self, because he was just not what I was interested in, like as a human being, really. Like he wore like football jerseys and shit, and like he looked all gangster, and I'm like, like I like nerdy guys, and whatever. So, but he kept trying, and finally I was just like, yeah, sure, let's just go. We'll meet at Perkins and talk and get to know each other. And so that happened, and like we kind of hit it off, but he was just a player, and I'm like, I don't date players. Like I date somebody that wants to date me. I don't date somebody that's, like trying to bang 5 other people at the same time. And so like as we started to get to know each other, I was like, oh no, like you can like sleep with me, but you only get to sleep with me, like, and date me. Like I don't do that whole thing. So otherwise, no, go fuck yourself. Like, and he, he was like, oh shit, oh, okay then, I guess. Like, damn, I didn't know. I'm like, yeah, I'm not one of your stupid followers. Like, because he gets groupies. He's always been one of those people that had groupies, like people that follow him and shit. Like they really have. He's always had them. He's always had groupies. So I was like, yeah, kill off all your groupies, and like you can have a real woman, or you can keep your little groupies, and I'll just, it was nice to know you. Auf Wiedersehen. Like bye now, bye.
Bye now.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, that's that. And I maybe didn't talk to him for like a week or two, and then he was like, all right, what? Yeah, I'd rather be with you. And I'm like, all right, okay, cool. And in the beginning, our relationship was really great, and it was super fierce and really powerful and beautiful. And he wasn't who he is now. And then he something changed in him, and I guess he thought I cheated on him, and so that thought was all he needed to apparently just start cheating on me. And
So he just took that thought, ran with it. Did he talk to
absolutely
you about it?
no, not at all. He didn't tell me that he felt that way. And when I say that this was early on in our relationship, it was before we had even gotten married. So, for me, when I found this out, which was obviously well after, this was like 10 years of our relationship, like plus 10 plus years, where like he's just sleeping around with all of these people quietly behind my back, and I have no idea. And here I am, like faithfully loving him and being his wife, and his, fucking, I've got his back, and I would, fiercely protect him with my life. And like, I've, all, and
Yeah, I
oh,
seen that video. You said you got a dead body. I got you. I was like,
This
Yeah.
is how serious I was with him, and I thought we were that together because like he acted like that. So like for me, I'm like, how? Like I didn't see it. Like, and I was raising our two kids. And like, cause I had my own son and he had his own daughter from previous relationships. So, but I'm raising both of them together. Like I'm working.
How old were they?
So ironically, they were only like 6 months apart in age. So basically they're the same age growing up. And it was funny because his daughter had my mom's birthday. So like they were never like it was great because it was like, oh, you've got my mom's birthday. I'll never forget yours. But yeah, they were only 6 months apart, and my son Anakin was like 6 months older. So but they were Jade was hard at first because I mean she really did always hate me. I was always that like evil stepmom, and I tried. You know what I mean? Because to be honest, Chris was not father of the year ever. Like he just didn't. I I tried so hard to show him that like he should love her more, and he didn't. He just didn't give enough shit about her. And so I tried to compensate. And it's really funny because, Jade reached out to me recently because when he and I split, I didn't talk to her anymore. And because I didn't, it's just weird, like, what do I say? Like, so I just let that relationship go as well. And she reached out to me recently and was like, hey, you were a really great human being to me and I appreciate you. And I was like, well, I mean, I kind of loved you, kiddo. Like you were in my life for a long time and I loved you growing up. Like I tried, I really did try with you. And she's like, I know. And I was like, I didn't want you to hate me. She's like, I didn't mean to be horrible, but
If you cut out, you'll be back.
yeah. Oh, wait, let's see.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Huh?
she was saying she didn't mean to be horrible.
Yeah, and that she really did appreciate everything I had done for her. She just couldn't, allow herself to, thank me or do anything like that because, I was the evil stepmom. So
She was a kid, and I'm sure
yeah,
she was also going through her own
yeah,
emotions.
yeah. So, but it's great now because we're really close, and she gave me my third grandbaby, and and I love little Dougie, and we talk all the time now, and it's really great. So, she's got somebody who's got her back because I will
That is
always have her
wonderful.
back. And I love them immensely, and so it's really nice to like have an adult relationship with her now. But yeah, Chris was just, I would have never known because he was, I mean, he was good. He is a narcissist with borderline personality disorder. So he really, I mean, he is a good manipulator. Like he knows how to just wrap you up and put you in his little box and just keep you perfectly there where he needs you forever. And, for me, it was that he would always show me just the right amount of the good him to make me believe that I could get the rest of it out. He would be just goofy enough that I knew it was in there and like just lovey enough to know that it was in there and just enough that we when we were driving down the road that he would belt out a song with me and I'd be like, oh, I knew you were in there. So it was, he always showed me just enough of him to believe that it was in there. Here I am.
Welcome back. I knew you'd be back.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am so sorry about this.
it's
If
okay.
it does it 2 or 3 more times, I apologize. We're getting close.
Yeah. But so yeah,
Continue.
he was always just, he always gave me enough to believe that I was going to get the rest of it someday. And that's how he just kept pulling me back in and pulling me back in. And what I didn't realize is that I had started off as this like strong, independent woman, and I was slowly being broke down into this like weaker, inconsistent, not myself person who was just holding on to hope that he was going to be a better person. And that was the key. All the while he's cheating on me and I have no idea. And then one year I got really, really sick. And I think what happened is I actually got COVID before COVID was COVID, because my lungs got so bad and I was in so much pain that I went to the emergency room and was like, please just give me like cough syrup with codeine. And they were like, what? Oh, just go wait in your room. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then when they set me up on all the heart machines, my heart rate was like 180 to 200. And they were like, whoa, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, I can't breathe. They're like, no, you're going to the emergency, you're going to the hospital. I'm like, what's wrong with me? And they're like, don't you know what your heartbeat is? And I'm like, I can't feel my heartbeat. I'm like, because my chest is so sore, I can't fucking breathe. And so I end up in the hospital for the first time. And this was like the slow decay of my health and like our marriage, because we had been very fit, active people together. He's, really deep into training and stuff like that. And like I was trying to get in there with him, and we were going to hike the AT and do all of this like active stuff together. And our kids were getting older, we were about to be free. And then I get this weird heart thing. And so I didn't know it was a heart thing until because I was in the hospital for about a straight month until they finally figured out that whatever sickness I had shocked one of the nerves in my heart, and I couldn't get it fixed because it was right next to the nerve that controlled my breathing. And so they couldn't shock it because they could risk shocking my lungs, and then I would stop breathing altogether. So then I started, once they figured it out, I went home and I had to spend a year basically figuring out, like, was I going to get a pacemaker? Was I going to get on meds? Was I going to do this? Like, how was I reacting? And it took me about a year to get the right meds and get everything under control. But, while they had me in the hospital and they didn't know what was wrong with me, they threw like every steroid and antibiotic and everything under the sun at me. So like I was like this super sterile human being whose body freaked out over everything. And so then I had to start dealing with all of that. And that's how I found out I had cancer. So while I was going
So you were going through a terrible time.
Yeah.
And then life was just like, here's more.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. My whole life was just falling apart. Like, I was just sick and I kept getting like problems. And so, I finally, like, nobody wants to deal with their butt, right? You're just like, oh, right. My shit, like shit. And so the last thing I dealt with was shit. And so I go into this gastro lady who, was wonderful. The woman obviously saved my life, but I walked into her and, she's like, so why are you here? And I explained what had happened and, that the hospital had thrown everything at me. And she's like, okay. And she's like, so on this poop chart of 1 to 7, where do you live? And I was like, at 6 and 7. And she's like, well, that's not normal. And I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, I kind of felt so, but whatever. She's like, so let's do a colonoscopy on you. And I was like, oh, cool. I'd never had one. There was never a need. I wasn't old enough yet, blah, blah, blah. And so I went in like a week later and I got one. And when I woke up, Chris was standing there and the doctor was standing there. And I'm like half laying there and I'm looking up at her. And she was just like, so when we went in there, we found a 5-inch tumor. She goes, a 5-inch malignant tumor that has breached through your wall in your colon as well. And we have found 25 polyps, which are all precursors to cancer as well. And I was like, okay. And she's like, do you understand what that means? And I was like, yeah, I'm high as fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still kind of like loopy from what's going on. So like, really, did I understand what was going on? No. all I wanted was apple juice. Okay. So like, I'm just like, so can you give me some apple juice? Is that like, I don't, and they're like, yeah, we're going to get you apple juice, but do you understand what we've just said to you? And I'm like, I just want apple juice and to go home. And they're like, okay. So I get my apple juice, I get dressed, and I get wheeled out. And I'm like, I just want to go home, Chris. And he's like, okay. And like, so he gets me in the car and he, puts me in, and then he gets around and he gets in and he like gets out to like the stops sign. And he's like, babe, do you understand what they just said to you? And I was like, that I have a 5-inch malignant tumor in my colon that's breached the wall. You mean I have fucking cancer? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, well, now I fucking get it. And he's like, oh, well, I was like, he's like, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, now have to figure out who I fucking tell first that I have cancer. And he was like, yeah. I'm like, so who is that, babe? Who do I fucking call? Because you now know. But who do I call? I'm like, who do I call? Do you call your mom first? Do you call your son? Like who the fuck do you call and now tell that you have cancer? And so like I was really upset, and I was like, I guess I'm going to call my mom first. And then my mom's all upset. She's like, you can't die. And I'm like, well, I don't want to, like, so I have to have all these fucking long, horrible conversations. And then, we go to the shop so that I can tell all of my employees, like, well, by the way, fucking, I'm dying of cancer and, I'm going to have to deal with this. So, I don't know what's going to happen. And, they all have, looks of devastation. And, my shop manager, who was a very close friend of mine, is like bawling and like, I fucking hate you. And I'm like, I know, I fucking hate me too. Like, because, I'm 41 years old at this time. So I'm not really that old. And, I was devastated. And, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it yet. And my mother's demanding that I not die. I'm not allowed to die before her. And Chris doesn't do sick. So, yeah. You're muted, I think.
Yes, I was on my computer. I'm sorry about that.
I know, you're okay. You did it again. You're muted.
My computer is muting itself. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Let's try that again. You said he does not do sick.
Mm-mm.
That's blowing my mind right now. I'm sorry. Please further explain.
So, okay. So I get my colonoscopy on a Thursday, and I find out that I've got cancer. And so my doctor is worried about, somehow she's worried about a blood clot. And so she sends me to get a CT scan, and they find a massive blood clot in the main vein that goes to my heart. So she's like, you have to go straight to the emergency room. She's like, do not pass go, do not collect $200. She's like, do not go to Venice. She's like, I'll call and let them know that I'm sending you, but you need to go just straight up to Sarasota Memorial. She's like, explained what has happened so far. And I'll call and let them know that you're coming. And I'm like, okay. So I look at Chris and I'm like, I have to go up there now. And he's like, okay. I go alone. And because he doesn't, yeah. So I go up there alone, and I get into the emergency room, and I'm like, my doctor should have called, but this is my situation. This is what's happened. And so they look at me like I'm fucking crazy and that I have 3 heads. And so I'm like, look, they want me to get a filter put in. And, so I have a blood clot in this vein, and I've got cancer. And they're like, right. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. This is why I'm here. So they don't believe me. And then they get me back and they finally, I mean, and this is hours later, that they finally realize that I'm not lying. And they, quickly get me into a room. And by Monday, I have had the tumor removed. I have had the filter put into place, and I have had 30 some odd um, little whatever they're called. I'm brain farting the name, removed as well.
To get those removed to see if the cancer was gone.
Yeah. So anyways. So I end up getting, well, they had checked to see if the cancer had spread, because I ended up with stage 3B, which is the step before 4, which is usually terminal for colon cancer. It's very hard to come back from stage 4. So with the type of cancer I had, because I had a very specific type of colon cancer. So my cancer, I ended up with a lot of clotting. So for the first 6 months of my cancer, I was in the hospital a lot. So I ended up in the hospital for a week initially because of the clotting. And then I go home. And then I'm doing okay. And one day I start having a really bad chest pain. And it ended up that I had what ended up being a pulmonary embolism, and I had 5 more clots over my organs. And so I went to the emergency room in my local hometown, and the doctor that I initially saw thought I was just there trying to get drugs. And so he ignored me. He put me in a room and ignored me for 2 hours. And I brought my girlfriend with me because people don't believe that shit happens to me. Because I'm like, look, no, they really treated me like this. And they're like, no, nobody treats people like that. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. People treat me like this.
But I have to ask, do you think it was because of your appearance?
Oh, it's absolutely because of my appearance. People always think I'm a drug addict. And it's really funny because I don't even drink because I come from a family of addicts. And raging alcoholics. Yes. So I don't actually do drugs. So it's on very rare occasion in my life have I gone through okay, I'm going to drink, and I'll randomly drink, or okay, I'm going to smoke some pot. But even now I can't smoke pot because it gives me horrible anxiety. So I don't do drugs. When Chris went through his bourbon stage, I learned to drink bourbon with him, so that we could sit and talk about it, because he was doing a podcast and I wanted to be a part of it with him. So I learned bourbons just so that I could sit and be a part of something with him, because at that point he had avidly started to show no interest in me. I could tell when our marriage really towards the end was becoming.
And can I ask, how long was from this moment to, I was going to ask, when did you start, one, getting suspicious, two, when did you absolutely 100% knew he had been unfaithful?
So while I was going through cancer, there was a point in our marriage, and when I was going through cancer, I couldn't have sex because of the chemo and the radiation. So obviously, plus I had, fucking butt cancer. So, you're not trying to do it with anybody, okay? I'm just throwing that out there.
You got other things to worry about, okay?
So,
I got you.
So yeah, I was not able to have sex because of the amount of radiation and stuff that they were putting into my lower extremity. And so we could not have sex. And then randomly at one point he came up to me and was like, if you'd like to have an open relationship. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, because I know you really, would like to have sex and stuff like that. And I'm like, I can't even have sex. Why are you, I'm like, dude, are you fucking other people? And he's like, oh, no, that's not what I'm doing at all. I just, if you feel like you need more attention, and stuff, then that's fine. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, and he would like, at one point he came up and like said this to me while like I was like wrapping presents in front of like our employees, like, because, you know, I always adopted families at Christmas and stuff. And like, he would just say these things at like the most random times, or like he had started becoming very cruel to me at the end. Like, I mean, like, he never spoke down to me. Like, he never was cruel to me in front of other people. Like, I was his queen, who now he calls the new girl queen, you know, the 27-year-old. But no, he really started showing things and being mean. And to be honest with you, um, I was so sick for a while that I didn't notice anything. I mean, like, I was dying and I was sick. And so, you know, and he wouldn't come to chemo with me. Like, he came to one of my first chemos, but it made me so sick and so tired that I slept. And then he's like, why would I come to this with you? Like, you're sleeping. What, I just sit here and watch you sleep? Like, what's the point of that? And I was like, because I'm scared and I'm dying and I want you to hold my hand and be there for me. And that's why. That's why right there, is because your wife is dying and she wants you by her side. And that's why I'm asking you. And then COVID hit while I was going through the radiation. And obviously, in the radiation, you're stuck in a big fucking vault of death, you know, while they shoot radiation at you. So you're really alone, anyways. But through the chemo, I had asked him to be there a couple times with me, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't come with me. And then I got C. diff a couple of times, where you have to be basically isolated in a room. And so like he didn't come up and visit me. He didn't like hospitals. So he basically left me alone through all of it. And I didn't let anybody know how bad it was, because I didn't want them to see how horrible my husband was treating
I
me.
was going to ask, did you
Yeah.
have anyone that you leaned on during that time? Anyone that you talked to?
So, not really. I had my one girlfriend who helped me with my animals. And when uh, she got really mad. No,
At
it's
this
funny,
point, I
because
just
that time you were still like, your screen was still there. You just black screened, and I'm like, oh wait, you're still there, and then boom, went away.
That's what happened to you last time. It just went black, and I was like, "Oh,"
Did
and
you
then you were gone.
Yeah, I didn't know either, too, because I was like, oh, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden
No,
it was
you're
like
good.
reload.
It we don't have too much. I don't have like too many other questions, so it might just happen once or twice. And just thank you for sticking with me.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Um,
so your friend she got
yeah,
mad.
my really good friend, she has known me for forever, and she worked for the animal clinic that I take my animals to, and she brought my cats home one day for me that had needed like shots and everything, and he had taken them there in the morning, and she was like, I'll just bring them home to you, don't worry about it. And that night I was so sick that I couldn't get off the couch to get to the door. And so, you know, she came home, and I was trying to get up from the couch, and I was just kind of like leaning on the wall, like trying to get to the front door. And she was like, oh no, the door's open. And she opened it and saw me as I was trying to like get to the door. And she was like, hey bitch, go out and lay your ass down. And like, Chris had not gotten up from his computer room, which was right by the front door. He was just playing video games. And like, yeah. So she was like, and I'm like, no, I know. I'm so sorry. I was like, I'm just really don't feel good right now. And she was like, you shouldn't be getting up at all, bitch. And I was like, I know. And she's just like, go lay down. I'm taking care of your cats. Like, where's their food? I'll put some out. Like, and I'm like, I know. I'm sorry. And she's like, you have nothing to be sorry for. And I'm like, I know, but I'm sorry. Like, And nobody, see, the thing is that you think you have friends sometimes and then you don't. Like, a sickness really shows you who cares. And it ended up being my ex-husband, who I'm back with, ironically enough. So him and I are dating again, and we're together, and I
I'm
got
happy for you.
I am the happiest I have been in so long, and we are just so great. And we're raising our grandbabies together, and I could not be happier. But he spent more time with me and took better care of me than my own husband did while I was going through this. He would come and sit with me, and we would play games, and he would just sit there and like rub my back when I didn't feel good, through chemo. I mean, he was there for me more than my own husband was. And my mom, when she could come down from Ocala, she would come down and help me. And my sister was there, and that was it. That's all I had. None of the people from the shop came and visited me or brought me anything, or did, like, nobody that I thought would be there for me was actually there for me. And it really fucking sucked. It really broke my heart. And then a lot of them knew. They said they didn't, but a lot of them knew what was going on, and not a single fucking soul said anything to me. And I got I had no idea. Like, I really didn't realize that was happening. And I'm like, oh, you are all fucking liars, because he slept with almost every piercer that worked for us. Yes. So the girlfriend that he has now was our body piercer. And I knew that he was fucking her the moment that he said, yeah, so he's like, I'm going to go have breakfast with her. And I went, because that was our thing when we started dating, is that we would have breakfast together. And so when he said that, I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, why are you having breakfast with her? And he was like, oh, well, because she's bought me some, breakfast a couple times, so I buy her breakfast. And I went, no, that's not what you do. You buy me breakfast, like me. And he was like, it's not a big deal. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it is. And then, because I also didn't know that she was married as well. And then when she got that
The skeleton hand, it was his. When did she get it?
while she was working at the shop, and I was still
And
together.
you two were together.
Mm-hmm.
That I think was the nail in the coffin for me. That when I read that comment that you left, I went through a lot of emotions after what happened. I want to apologize to you, which I do a lot. You'll I say sorry a lot. I'm sorry, you have to get used to it. But as soon as I liked that tattoo at first, but as soon as I seen that comment, I went to that thread just saying, "Hey, okay, my episode didn't air. I get it. I wasn't chosen. It's fine." I went just to try to find if there was anybody else similar that had filmed with them that did not, that their episode didn't air, and I was just kind of venting, like I was just hurt from the way that they treated me. It was just, as soon as I knew that they had cheated in their past, I knew that. And I was like, but they've grown from it. I didn't do any actual research into what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wrote back to me, "Oh, your episode didn't air because of technical issues. If you had just reached out, then you would find that out." And I'm like, "Well, I did reach out one time and you didn't respond. So I was just expecting no response had I done that again." At this point, I just wanted to drop everything. Like, I get it, you know? Um, I'm sorry, this turned into me venting, but I
Oh,
just
no. Oh, by all means, girl, go ahead.
it was, I thought they were married. I thought the episode was going to be just regular women talking about our common interests, things that we were going to disagree on. See, your passion in writing, I love writing. I actually write erotica.
Oh, nice.
And Yeah, I love writing erotica, and she had some opinions on erotica and that it's cheating. Actually, we don't need it. So I went on there also, and I was like, we could also talk about how we have different viewpoints on this. But we ended up just talking about how my husband helped me through the grief of my father and about my podcast. Um, as soon as I found your video in the Reddit and I watched the whole thing, I was like, what? I said, I get it now. This is why you blocked me. This is why you don't want to air my episode, is because I found the Reddit. Because I'm reading everything now. Um, and then I was like, okay, I'm so small. I get it. I'm like nobody. No one's going to see my videos. No one's, but I did not want to give up like that. It hurt me. I won't lie. I didn't want to give up. um, and when I seen that comment of, oh, by the way, she got this while we were still together, I lost all empathy and compassion for her. I felt like I had to go and take a shower because I hugged this woman. And I said, you were my inspiration to do this podcast. Now they're my inspiration to not give up.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if anybody's truth needs to be out, it's yours. 100%. And I might not be big, but I wanted to give you a platform to at least get your story out there.
Well,
Um,
the
yeah.
thing is that I don't know if they thought I would just never talk. But I never thought that me making my little post on TikTok that I made would do what it did. Or I had no idea that they had done any of what they had done, because like I moved away because they became so big that I was like, I can't be here anymore. Like, just because Chris is Chris, and Chris tries to make everything happen, and he does. He usually does make whatever he wants happen. But I was like, I just got to go. And so I had no idea that they had made this podcast. I've been told that he made a big TikTok, but I didn't know they had done this stuff. And I didn't know that they had all these followers or anything like that. And so, I just told my little story so that I could just get it off of me. And then like all of this shit happened, and I was like, oh, I didn't know. Like, oh, so like I didn't know. And like he will, if I get too feisty and like say something or like make a post specifically about her, he'll message me. He'll be like, why are you starting shit? And I'm like, why is it that I don't get to say shit? Why is it that I can't be like, oh, she a dumb hoe and look at her? And I'm like, you have to understand. I'm like, I'm never going to like her. I'm never going to say something nice about her. I'm never just not going to fucking loathe this stupid bitch that slept with my husband while I was dying of cancer. Like, there's never a moment where that is ever going to be okay in my book, and I'm going to sympathize or feel for her. Ever. Sorry.
No, you don't need to. No,
Yeah.
she has a role in your book, and that's the role that she's going to stay in. Because I mean, it just made me sick when I found out what happened. And even though I'm small, I was like, no, this is it. That tattoo, I was like, nope, we're having an interview. I'm doing this. I'm scared, but we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying, you're not, what do they say? You're not you're telling the truth.
Yeah. I'm not
You're
being
allowed to
abusive.
speak your feelings.
I'm not lying.
Yeah.
I'm not putting like untruths out there. Like, I'm not being
Right.
like, vicious about it.
No.
I'm not being like, I'm not making up stories. I'm just telling the truth about what he did to me, because, I don't think, like, from what I understand, he was pretty mean about me when I left. And like at one point, I saw a post that he had made that said, I used to wake up every morning and wish I was dead. And it was like about me. And I actually wrote a poem about it. And I was so devastated because somebody took a screenshot and sent it to me. And I was like, oh, wow, like that's how he felt being married to me? Like, how cruel. Like, why were you? And you know what the most fucked up thing was? Is that, I really, I just really loved him. And I had no idea. And like, I feel like I gave him over a decade of my life, and it was one of the best decades I had to give, and he wasted it. He wasted all the good, all the love, all the happiness. And that's the part that I had the hardest time, trying to get over was like, you wasted me, you selfish jerk. Like, you wasted all the good. And yes, was I a bitch? Absolutely. Did we fight? Of course. Like, what married couple doesn't? But like, it wasn't all bad to me. But like, to think that it was really all a lie, that's what broke my heart. Like, that's really where I'm like, you just lied to me. You know what I mean? And like, you made me a fool in front of everybody. Like, I was literally the laughing stock of a town because of what you did. Like, all this boudoir stuff. Yeah. Like, how, here I am thinking that he's, legit, and he's not. In fact, even the girl that, came over and fucking hated him for seeing, like, just because he did. He either went to so what happened is he met Christina because she was dating his best friend, and his best friend is the person that we gave our comic shop to. And so he would go to the comic shop all the time to hang out there, but Christina was working there. And apparently, what I didn't know is that they were going out for dinners. So he would tell me he was going to the comic shop while I'm at home sick, and he would go meet Christina, and they would go out and talk. They would have dinners together. They would meet up. They would, and so this started, early on while he was still dating her. And then she was married at some point in there. Like, or like, really, like, girl, who are you fucking and married to and fucking with? Like, you a hoe bitch. And let me just tell you, because I don't mind putting this out there for the world to know, is that she had a booby job thanks to my ex. She had a tummy tuck thanks to my ex. Like,
and you know this?
Oh, I know this. Oh, yeah. I know this. And that, yeah, all that weight she lost was not really on her own, but, some things may have been involved. Plastic surgery. Thank you very much. So, yeah, this girl looks the way she does thanks to my husband. I didn't need all that to look the way I looked for him. I hate her. I just hate her. And there's never a moment that I won't hope to find her in a dark alley someday.
Yeah.
Even at my age. So it's just, Chris and I have had our talks, and, do I not forgive him? No, I don't forgive him yet. Like, I don't know that I'll ever forgive him for making me look like a fool and doing that to me. But do we talk? Yeah, we still talk. I'm not going to lie. Like, I just, fucking sent him a cat picture the other day, and told him it was his spirit animal. Oh, there it goes. So, but yeah, so, I do still talk to him. We still talk to each other. We have to. We're adults. Like, he, owes me money.
Didn't know that. Okay.
So, you know what I mean? Like there's still things to be paid for. And I didn't walk away from everything and just let him have it. Like, he definitely made me walk away from the things. I'm not gonna lie. Like I did not feel safe or comfortable when I tried to fight for the business, which was um, our creation. I mean, that's still my
Was
baby.
that Sacred Hearts?
Yeah, sacred rights.
Sacred
And
Rights. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I mean, shit, that's my name. I'm the Hawaiian one. That's that's my fucking baby. But I we're adults and we can deal with each other. I will, never deal with her. And I tell him all the time. And he doesn't, he's like, why can't you just? And I'm like, think about that, you dumb schmuck. You know what I mean? And, and then the one time that I ever did see something on their YouTube, it was that day that he told her everything that he did to me and that he swore he would never do it to her. And, yeah, there was a video that he posted and it
I
was like,
missed that episode. I've read
yeah.
about it, but I can't.
So he was like, I cheated on her. I was a bad man. I did all of these things and I promised that I'll never do them to you. And as the person that video was about, yeah, I told him flat out. I was like, you don't ever get to talk about me again. I'm like, period. I'm like, if you do, I'll sue you. Which is what the girl, that hater girl, was talking to me, was talking about on my things so randomly out. I don't even know who the person is, but she's like, you threatened to sue them and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we were known in this town. We are very known in this town. So don't, like, yeah, that's me. And everybody knows it. And now everybody knows that that guy cheated on me for over a decade while I was his fucking backbone. So, yeah, I do fucking look like an idiot. And everybody knows that I'm the fucking idiot. You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, most people don't like him because of it. And I love that because I am a good person and people like me. I guess, apparently. So
I feel the same way. I do. Yeah. I was gonna say I do. I like you, and you're not an idiot. You went through a
yeah,
terrible time by yourself. You struggled, and you came out on top. And now you have someone that supports you and that you love dearly, and you're with. Yeah,
I'm so
I'm very happy for you.
I,
Tell me
you
a
know
little
what?
bit about your happy ever after.
It's been wonderful. It's really funny because, when Chris and I split, I was taking care of my mom at the time too, because she almost died. And she ended up having to have a whole bunch of her colon removed and she had a bag and I was taking care of her and I didn't really get a choice. And so, we got into a huge fight about that as well because Chris was like, you just moved your mom in and you didn't talk to me about it. And I was like, I didn't really have a choice. And we had the ability to do it. So I'm sorry that you fucking hate me for it. Like, sorry. And he didn't forgive me for that either, for not talking to him enough about it. And I was like, well, I had to, like, my mom had nowhere to go. That's what kids do for their parents. You may not have ever done that for your mother because she was a piece of shit, but children who care for their parents take care of them. And that's what I did for my mother. And so, that was one of the other reasons, final nail in the coffin thing. But, so, as he was further, pulling away from me and, living his own life, I was taking care of my mom. And then, Jesper and I his name is Jesper, started hanging out more and he was taking me to comedy shows and like, we were just becoming friends again. Like we were always friends, but like we were really, becoming close again. And, man, like right before, I was moving, we had gone to this comedy show up in St. Pete, and the roads are all brick. And he held my hand the whole way to the show. And then he held my hand the whole way back to the car. And I was like, why did you do that? And he's like, well, I didn't want you to fall. You have bad feet now. Because I do. I have really bad feet from the neuropathy. And like my balance is horrible. And, I basically fall if I look up while I'm walking. So he's like, I didn't want you to fall. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's like the sweetest thing ever. You know what I mean? So then I'm thinking about that for a couple of days. And then he did something else that was super, super sweet. And then I'm like, oh shit, I think I kind of like him. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, maybe I do like him. And, we kept hanging out and like watching movies and, doing shit and going to dinners and like talking. And like one night it was like 2 nights before I was like going to move, and we're at his house watching a movie, and it had gotten really late. And so I called my mom and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to stay up here. It's really late. I'm super tired. I'll be home in the morning. And she's like, don't have sex. And I'm like, I'm not having sex. She's like, well, I'm just telling you, don't have sex. And I'm like, Mom, my God, you're so stupid. And but I looked over at Jesper and I was like, and he's really deaf, by the way. So, like super fucking deaf. And I was like, I think I like you. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I think I like you. And he's like, what? And I was like, I like you. He's like, and like, I like bend over to try and kiss him. And he's like, like, and he's trying to kiss me. And it was just that really stupid, like awkward, like high school kiss thing that happened. And I was like, oh my God.
That's so cute.
Yeah, I was just like, Jesus Christ, we're so dorky. And then like we just fell asleep that night and like we didn't have sex. And I woke up the next morning and I went home and I was like, because I told my mom, I was like, I think I like Jesper. And she's like, don't you fucking tell him. And she's like, we're about to move. You can't tell him. And I was like, but I think I like him. She's like, don't you tell him. And so I got home and I'm like, I told him. She's like, did you sleep with him? And I'm like, no, I didn't sleep with him. Ma, stop it. Like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, you really did it. And I'm like, probably. And so he was helping us move up anyways. So like 2 days later, we ended up getting fucked over by the mover that I had hired. He like took our money and ran. And so then, Chris ends up getting some friends of his and like paying them to help us pack up a U-Haul. And then we got one of our friends to drive the U-Haul up. And then Chris, was like, because Chris was like, kind of get out, because he literally moved Christina in the weekend that I moved out. So yeah, like he was like, oh no, I waited like weeks. And I'm like, no, the fuck you didn't, because she was like living.
Okay, no, he didn't, because what?
Yeah. So he told me, he's like, oh no, I waited a couple weeks before I moved her in. And I'm like, no, you fucking didn't, because you had her living in the apartment you were renting. Like, I know you moved her into the fucking house. I'm like, I'm not stupid. People tell me shit. Like, they tell me shit when I don't want to fucking know it. Like, everybody would tell me shit. And I'm like, please stop telling me. Like, please, like, I don't want to know. But like everybody felt like they were protecting me. And like even when I moved back, people were telling me stuff. And I'm like, it's been a year, man. I don't want to know this shit. Like, finally I made a post and was like, I love you all, but stop telling me. Like, because you're just hurting me at this point. Like, I don't want to know. Like, I've moved on. I have a great life. Like, I just want to live my happy life. And you people just keep telling me shit about him. I'm like, and I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't give a fuck about him. Like, I don't give a fuck about her. Like, and then, and to be honest with you, I waited, my God, like a year and a half, I think, even before I made my own video, because I wanted to make sure that like, it had really died down and I was just trying to get it off my chest, because again, I didn't do anything vindictively. I just told my side of the story and I didn't even get juicy about it. I was just like, he was a dick. He cheated on me while I was dying, and I really didn't even give like all of it. And I just let it go. And then, people were like, holy shit, like you said something. So it really took off and I didn't mean for it to, but people give a fuck about them. And And I'm really blown away by it, but I'm not, because it's Chris and I know Chris. So I know how manipulative he is and can be. And I mean, he's like a Jim Davis. Like, he will make you drink that Kool-Aid. He's got that power over people. So, I have the love of my life again, and we are off in our little house of happiness, and we've got our grandbabies, and we're just going to raise them and be happy and spoil the fuck out of them. And I still tattoo, and I love what I do. So fuck yeah. And
I think that's one. That was wonderful.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
Oh no, I'm happy. I love where I work right now. I'll probably stay there until I retire. I came back to Florida because with my neuropathy, I just can't live in the cold. Like, I tried and I wish I could, but I just can't. And
Yeah.
so I'm Florida or like warm bound for the rest of my life. And that's okay. My kids live in Indiana and it kind of sucks, but maybe I can con them into moving back down to Florida. But, other than that, my life is totally content. And, they have their drama, and sometimes I like to fucking stir it up a little bit. But otherwise, it's okay. Like,
Hey,
it's
what are moms for?
Exactly. So, it's just, they did what they did, and they'll get what's coming to them, because I firmly believe in karma. So, brink.
I do too. I completely agree.
And
I do
think
believe
they'll get what's coming to them for what they did to you too. And I hope that you go big and far, and you just, you'll squash them and their little bugs. They're just little bugs. So, and I'm glad that you asked me to do this, and I'm glad that we got together today. And I hope, even with all the splits and breaks, that you can just magically piece it all together, and it'll just be the most wonderful thing ever. And you'll just,
I can't wait to send it to you. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit end recording right now.
Okay.
I was just going to say thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
You've been a wonderful guest, and thank you for not being upset with all the pauses and coping with me through that.
Seriously, that's you can't be angry at that. That's just life. It happens. It's okay.
And one more thing I'm going to add is hopefully I will stay in contact with you, because I would love to maybe schedule getting a tattoo. If that's
yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay.
Totally
Cool.
do that.
I'm going to go ahead and recording.
Okay.